What's up, everyone? I'm finally back from Vegas. I'm rested up, and I got a lot of things to talk about, so let's dive right in. So for starters, for those of you who are not watching this on YouTube and are maybe watching this on one of my other platforms where I'm kind of cross-posting, I was in Las Vegas for Hacker Summer Camp. And Hacker Summer Camp is just this nickname we give to a week-long series of conferences in Las Vegas that are about hacking. So these are some of the biggest hacking conferences in the world. You got B-Sides Las Vegas, you got Black Hat, and you got DEF CON. I was there for B-Sides and DEF CON specifically. And I mean, we're kind of doing what we say on the tin. We're hacking stuff. It just kind of depends on what it is that you're hacking or what you're participating in. Some of us go there for talks in the professional setting so we can learn new things from other people in the industry. Some of us go there to compete in competitions so we can earn prizes or notoriety or whatever have you. And some of us participate in community events to help provide education, or some of us are the ones giving the talks or doing the research. And sometimes there's research projects that people do together while they're there, namely like the voting machine village that has received news in the last so many years because of obvious reasons, right? So all of this stuff happens during Hacker Summer Camp, and I was there to promote a book, which some of you may already know, and I have it here. We're going to talk about this a little bit later on in the video. I just want to kind of tease so you guys can get a feel. But yeah, I was there for a book I published. I had announced about this book leading up to the conference, kind of promoted it out there, and that was all happening for me on the Saturday, which is the second to last day of DEF CON before the closing ceremonies and stuff like that. So I had a whole week of shenanigans leading up to that. And I also want to post another video in addition to this that's actually more technical for my YouTube channel about some things that I learned while I was at DEF CON, which I think is going to be really cool. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe, notification bell, that kind of stuff. I know I don't really post here that much, at least on YouTube. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to try to link a video somewhere that explains all of that and why. But it's still worth subscribing to the channel because even though I don't use this as like a commercial means or for any kind of monetary gain or anything like that, I'm not dedicated to this channel. I still do like to upload to it. And I think the quality of content that I'm going to be uploading is going to be really good and you'll probably like it. So still worth staying subscribed even though I know it's not like a consistent thing. There are much better YouTubers out there if you want like a consistent thing to watch. But hopefully I'll post some new content every so often regarding stuff I learned that I think is really cool to share with the community. Or at least things I observe, right? But to kind of give you a taste into why I even made that old video that explains all of the things I said in so few words, I want to walk you through the lead up to me going to Hacker Summer Camp because I had a wild weekend beforehand. So start on the Friday before. I end up going to an emo night in Atlanta, the emo night, so to speak, with a couple of my friends. But that next day on Saturday, my buddy Tony was performing his project as Buffalo Farm. And Buffalo Farm is his trap metal project. It's really fucking cool. I love the music. It goes hard, guys. So if you like any kind of heavy music at all, screaming, stuff like that, breakdowns, Buffalo Farm is awesome. But anyway, I'd already planned. He had let me know months ago even before he announced the tour, to make sure I was going to be able to be there and hang out because I get to see him and some of our other buddies maybe a couple times a year if we're lucky, depending on what they've got going on because they're like full-time musicians. I'm a musician full-time outside of work, right? I still have my day job. This is all they do. So it's really nice to get to see them. And so I planned this weekend leading into Hacker Summer Camp of going to emo night, that concert, day of rest, and then flying out Monday to hopefully get there by noon in the middle of the day starting of B-Sides. So I was going to be a little late to B-Sides, but I was going to be there, and I'd be there through the rest of the week for Hacker Summer Camp. So that was the plan, right? But Friday gets here, and my buddy lands. He's good to go. Some of his other people, I don't want to give away all the details. The point is people are arriving late on their flights, right? So one of the key people whose flight gets canceled is our buddy Sage, which another musician you need to check out, Sage X Price. That guy is friggin' awesome. He's one of my coolest friends that I know in addition to Tony. So Sage X Price, go check him out. I'm done plugging music for now. But Sage usually DJs Tony's sets. For Buffalo Farm, he was Tony's DJ. And we find out that his flight gets completely canceled, right? So he's not going to be there for the show Saturday. Now, thankfully, I know how to run live shows. So we called an audible, and Tony asked me to kind of be on stage and do backing vocals and run his live tracks. So now I have a job to do Saturday. And so this is what I mean when I made that video about, like, I got a lot of shit going on. There are times where I get called in for random music projects. There are times where I'm doing stuff for my own music, for my band's music, where I'm booking shows. Like, music is a huge part of my life now, to the degree where it is basically a second job outside of work when things ramp up. And things can ramp up like that. Ever since I've gotten back from Hacker Summer Camp, things have been kind of chill. I got music to work on. I got rehearsals to do for my band. I've got songs to finish for my own project. I've got to keep rehearsing my own live set for shows that I'm planning to book. Like, there's still work to be done, but it's not something that I got to do every single day. These guys do it every single day, so it was showtime. So we ended up partying on Friday night at emo night. Had a great time. Get the next day on Saturday, Tony kind of runs me through his Ableton session, and I make sure I got all the cues and whatnot. End up having to not only run his set, though, but also another artist's set, and that artist was King David. And now, my boy King David, never met him before, hadn't heard any of his music, and I just had to get hype and run his set. Really crazy stuff. Even with the broken leg, that dude fucking killed it. He pulled it off, so shout out King David, another really awesome dude that I got to meet. But all these on-the-fly kind of music things, the reason I'm telling you about all this is because it was a really cool experience to have leading into what would build up to be an incredible Hacker Summer Camp. But I was exhausted. So I'm coming out of the gate. I got one day to rest. I'm on stage performing with all these guys and running these sets. It goes as well as it can. Actually, it goes really great, but I'm super critical. I put everything in the lens of I could have made it perfect, but the reality is I had literally a morning to prepare, and in one instance, a sound check to prepare. And I think all things considered, it went a smash. I mean, Buffalo Farm sold out of merch. People seemed really stoked to see Buffalo Farm and meet and shake hands, autograph, all that kind of stuff. I was really, really proud of my friend. I thought he absolutely killed it, despite the kind of technical nuances that only the artist ever observe while they're up there. Everybody else that I could see in the crowd, all the videos I've shot, it was such a good time. In fact, I'm going to post some of them here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Get up, zone, 1, 2, 3, go. I create this wicked entertainment. I'm dangerous, good way to contain it. Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. So all that leads into Hacker Summer Camp, all this cool music stuff, and then now I land at around noonish on Monday, and I'm going straight into B-Sides. And for B-Sides, I'm actually a volunteer for the competition Pros vs. Joes, and it is a red versus blue style attack and defense CTF, only it's really about the blue team. So the way Pros vs. Joes works is you have 4 blue teams, and each of them have identical networks to defend. And as they defend them, they have to keep their services up. The longer they keep their services up, the more points they get. So the idea is you need your services to be up to score points, right? And as you score more points, you can actually buy new systems to help like build up your network more and score more points even faster. You can buy new resources. You can buy like security tooling. You can buy, on day 2, you can buy red team support. Really, Red Team exists as more of a team of professionals that is there to make the game a game. You got to defend from something, so we're a game component. I'm not actually competing. I'm actually more of kind of like not just a game asset, but also like a mentor to any of the blue teamers that may be interested, alongside any of my other red teamers. Everybody that's on the PVJ Red Team is freaking bonkers smart and is... You can just ask them a question about almost anything within their area of expertise, and they have a really good answer for you, and they're usually pretty good at explaining it. And if not, they know who to direct you to that's on the team that can answer the question. So really, really beautiful community, and that's just the red team. You can extrapolate that to the entirety of the Pros vs. Joes staff. brilliant staff of people doing all sorts of stuff. I can't gloat on Pros versus Joes enough and hype them up. But anyway, it's this attack and defense style CTF. 4 blue teams defending, red team is part of the game where we're in there. We're in there before the game even starts, and we stay in there the whole game. That's our job. If you kick us out fully, damn, you're a really good blue team on the PVJ side of things. But it's not going to happen. I make sure of it. All jokes aside, though, I haven't played in PVJ on site in a couple of years. During like COVID and all that kind of stuff, I did some remote exercises that we did, all just trying to survive, And this year being back on site reminded me of like my first year ever on Red Cell, and hell, even the first time I played as a Joe on the blue team. And the spirit of the CTF was really, really there. Pros versus Joe's real goal, or at least the spirit of it, when it was pitched to me, was we should be able to take truly the average Joe off the street, maybe like a random nurse practitioner or a janitor or whoever, regardless of who they are, where they come from, what their background is, sit them in a seat next to a blue team captain, and they should be able to play this game. Now, obviously, it doesn't work quite that well. You have to have some kind of computer technical chops. You got to be comfortable on the command line a little bit to do some of these things. Some of these things you don't, though. Some of these things can be taught. It just kind of depends on the flow. So not every single person on the team could truly be an average Joe unless it's just going to be a learning session the whole time. It is still a game. You do still have to play. But the idea is learning through the game, right? So being somebody who is at least familiar with how computers work, you might be a little bit better equipped. But that's the spirit of it. I like the heart of the average Joe being able to come in and play this game. And it reminded me of that, even as a Joe, or even as my first time playing on the red team as more of a professional. I saw people learning. It was really, really cool to actually see people learning at this event again, see people asking questions. Me, one of my favorite things to do, I'm pretty social when I'm out in public, especially after I've had a beer or two. I'll go walk around with the blue teams and just kind of tease them and see if they notice that red team is walking around, see if they've got any interesting questions. And of course, I'm on the red team. I'm also looking at the screen, seeing if I can like sneak a password, see if anybody's configuring a service, or maybe they found something I've deployed, try to be a little sneaky about it. It's really fun, and that happened this year. All of that learning, all of that camaraderie, all of that happened this year, and it was really, really cool to experience again after so many years. Just fantastic. So if you're ever at a B-Sides event, because B-Sides Las Vegas is not the only place that hosts Pros vs. Joes. I think we have a New York conference coming up and a Delaware conference coming up, if I'm not mistaken. I may be getting those wrong, but go check out prosversusjoes.net for more. I'll have it linked below. But we do multiple B-Sides conferences, and we're one of the main competition events at those. So I would highly recommend signing up as a Blue Team Joe just to play and have fun. Or if you're a professional Blue Teamer, sign up to be a captain. We always need more captains. If you want to be on the red team, we'll have signups for that. I can't be at every one of these. I don't even know if I'm going to be at the upcoming ones. I at least try to support remotely, even if I can't be on site. But yeah, a huge event. I absolutely love it. And that is all I did my first technically 3 days of Hacker Summer Camp. We usually only have it within 2 days, I think is what I used to remember. But this year we had an extra third day, which means we had a more in-depth kind of post-game hot wash, we call it, where we could divulge more information to the blue teams if they had questions. And so the big rule, blue teamers, if you're watching this video and you're from my Pros vs. Joe family, or if you're one of the new Joes that played this year and you're interested in playing again, pro tip from the red team, ask questions at the hot wash. If you think you saw something, ask about it, even if it's not us. Because here's the thing, I'm not going to give up tradecraft that you didn't find, because that means it worked. So if you're like, dang, I saw some SSH keys in this weird directory, I wasn't sure if that was part of the game or not, then I'll clarify that for you at the end of the game. Say, oh, you found those? Cool, yeah, next time get rid of those, because that was us, right? I can add clarifications like that. But if you didn't find an implant that I had buried as a backdoor library or something complicated, I'm not just going to freely give that up, because I'm going to keep using it in future games. And the idea of this is, again, learning. Red Team has multiple stages of persistence across both the Linux and Windows side, of varying degrees of difficulty. So we expect you to catch like the level 1 persistence, we call it. These are things like backdoored accounts, SSH keys. These are things like maybe an implant running as a very obvious process, or as a cron job or systemd job. And these things escalate. So like SSH and backdoor accounts may be level 1, cron jobs and system D task and stuff like that may be a level 2. Boot persistence may be included with level 2, or maybe it's level 3, depending on what type of boot persistence. And then like level 3 and onward is like, oh, we've nation state leveled backdoored your system. This is for those people on your team who are probably actually pros, or maybe it's some fodder for the blue captains to hunt down if they even find it, right? So we're deploying all these levels so you learn, because if you are somebody who's inexperienced, it feels real bad if we just use that crazy level 3 onwards persistence the entire game. You got no chance. It's not fair to you. But if you're there to learn, you're going to learn about these low-level things, and then you can graduate to the next level and so on and so forth. And then for those who play the game who are really experienced and are hopping in, well, we got some stuff for you to gnaw on throughout the game and see if you can actually figure it out. And if you do, that's great, because that means you're challenging the red team to up their skills a little bit more next time, which is awesome. So yeah, that's about how that went, and it was freaking cool. The rest of my DEF CON experience was pretty much spent celebrating my birthday. In fact, it started at PVJ. I'll post some screenshots of my birthday malware. I deployed ransomware during Scorched Earth, which is where Red Team has no more rules. We're allowed to actually take down your systems. I had some ransomware that celebrated my birthday that week. I turned 30, by the way, so happy birthday to me. I'm old now. Fuck. But yeah, so celebrated my birthday a little bit while I was in Vegas. That's always really cool. Got some sushi with some of my greatest friends, and see some old friends and coworkers that happened to be there on site. Really cool to see lots of friends, basically, is what I'm saying, and be able to celebrate my birthday with these friends that I don't see very often, and even with friends that I do see almost every day of my life. Awesome shit. But then the big day came. I had the book. So I've been talking about this book for a bit. I have been promoting it on social media for a bit. This is it. This is the actual hard copy of the book. It is called Red Team Engineering: The Art of Building Offensive Tools and Infrastructure by Casey Erdman. That's me, or Endgame if you prefer. Yeah, it's really cool. I love this. This is the DEF CON only edition, and it is sold out. You could only get this at DEF CON, and we sold out at DEF CON. So there's not even leftover DEF CON edition copies for you to get. And I just have to say, thank you. Holy shit. I am a brand new author when it comes to the technical field. Like I said, I've got a hippy dippy book I self-published forever ago, not related to this stuff at all. This is a nice, thick book of good information. And I cannot believe, as a brand new author, that I sold out at the biggest hacker conference in the world. I heard rumblings that the Red Team Village was sending people over. So if that's true, thank you so much. I never got to verify it, but thank you if that's true. Regardless, you guys came through. You checked it out. Even met people who had never heard it before. They just walked by and said, damn, that sounds cool. Tell me about it. Gave them the pitch. They bought it right away. And I was at the No Starch Press No Starch Press booth on Saturday doing signings from around like noon to 1. And yeah, I just kept signing people's books, and I've signed stuff before. You know, I'm a musician. I'm not like famous or anything, but there have been fans who have asked me to sign things here and there. There have been friends and family who want things signed. You know, it's like maybe 5-10 people at most on any given year, right? Much less one setting. And I lost count of how many people's books I had to sign. I think we showed up with 220. They had to keep one for like a showcase book. I think we gave one to like my mom or something, and then we gave one to me. So the rest were completely sold out. So that's over 200 books, totally sold out. All DEF CON edition only. I know some of you guys are probably still waiting on like an ebook copy. That's not something they normally do. Like if you go to DEF CON and you buy the DEF CON edition, this is what you get. You don't also get the PDF usually. But in this case, if you were there and you bought it, I know the No Search team is working with all of you to get a PDF copy, so you have the electronic copy. So all that said, it sold out at DEF CON. Holy shit, that's incredible. Thank you so much. The next question is, how do you get one if it's sold out and you could only get this at DEF CON? Well, let me tell you. You can go to nostarch.com/red-team, and if you pre-order right now, you actually can get the early access ebook, which is the same thing as this, but it's only electronic form, but you'll go ahead and get it. And then around, I think,
January 2026.
Here's what we're targeting. I think that's what it says on the website. It's subject to change. I don't make the rules. In fact, I'm not in control of any of this. I wrote the book. I make some edits and tweaks. They tell me to show up when I show up, and I do my best, right? So the pre-orders will get you a physical copy of the book if you order that option. that will release in January of next year, early January, I think. But you have two options. So you can either order the ebook only and you'll get the early access edition, or you can pre-order and get the physical edition, not addiction. Though if you do get addicted to my books, let me know. I'll consider writing more. So when that final edition comes out, it'll have a slightly different cover, actually a completely different cover, and it will be a little bit more polished. I think we're adding like an extra explanatory introduction chapter to help glue things together. I've also gone in and made the chapters kind of flow into each other a little bit better, had some reference and figure, references. References to references that are important, like key indexes for things that are important as you're reading. Just really cleans it up. But all that to say, the early access copy, we decided to keep all the content. So if you get it now, you do get the full content of the book. You just don't get the polished content of the book. So you're going to see things like I think there's a reference to C# in there. We don't use C# in the book. That is for something secret that comes out when the book comes out later. But a lot of those details are things that we actually want feedback from on the early access. There's stuff we probably already know about. So like if you're pointing out really obvious flaws, that's okay. Like we probably already know about them. Helpful anyway. But if there's anything major that you notice, it's still very helpful to get feedback. That's kind of the point of the early access edition. So if you're interested in it, you get all the content right away, just no polish. So there you go. So shortly after the madness that was that book signing and selling out of all those books, which holy crap, I just can't say thank you enough. That was freaking amazing. I still losing my brain. After all of that, I went and I caught up with two of my old mentors, TiVo and Children of Init are their handles, or as you may better know them, Trevor and Eric. So these guys are the guys that run one of the competitions at the Embedded System Village. I went and played the Embedded System CTF. Pretty much sat down with them, said, hey, updated them about the book stuff, talked for a minute, and they said, hey, you should sit down and play the Embedded System CTF. There's only like so much time left in it, but I feel like if you sit down, you'll get some shells. And they were right. I sat down and I noticed what the scoreboard was at. Didn't think I would probably like place top 3 or whatever, but I sat down and immediately got to work and shelled 2 systems after my recon. The recon took a good like 30 minutes, but after that, within 20 minutes, I had a couple different shells. The last shell I got was within the last 30 minutes, and I knew what I needed to do. I had to bring BusyBox along with me or compile a ARM-based binary that would have worked on a specific embedded system, both of which I was running out of time to actually do. I had the shell, so my last Hail Mary within the last 5 minutes, rather than working over the slow internet to set all this stuff up, I wasn't prepared. Normally I have all that stuff ready to go. But I just Hail Married like a find for a flag.txt. That wasn't it. And then I remembered looking at the challenge for it, and it was like, oh, it's going to be in this like mount drive something whatever. So I'm sure there was a trick to it that I just didn't do. So it feels bad to have a root shell and no flag on one of those challenges. But that probably would have boosted us into the top 10. I had to solve that problem. But I digress. The other challenge I solved is exactly what I want to kind of lead you on about for a future video that'll come out soon. And that is a really fun exploit that I know both of my old mentors like a lot. And I don't think it was an intended solution. It might have been. It seemed like there were about 3 ways to shell this box. It's like a 500-point box. And I shelled it in one way, and it was so easy you could metasploit it. We're going to talk about that vulnerability in the future because I think it relates really well for what I'm known for on this channel. In fact, there's a comment on one of my videos. If you can figure out about what the next video is going to be, I want the nickname for it. And I don't mean the official nickname. I want the cooler nickname that matches the thing that I'm talking about. I'm going to keep it vague on purpose. If you know that, leave it in the comments below, and you'll get to kind of spoil what the next kind of exploit walkthrough that we'll go through on this channel is going to be. So yeah, all that to say is like Embedded System CTF, I'm coming back for you probably next year if I'm there, because that was fun as fuck, and I feel like I can do a much better job with more time, because if I'm shelling stuff within 20 minutes, that's a good sign. But I also prepared myself to be humbled because I know who made the damn thing, and I know it's going to get tougher and tougher. So really fun CTF, highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite things. I often get tired of hacking Active Directory. I really like hacking Linux things, and the crossover in corporate environments of that priority just kind of depends on what the goals are for your operations. And oftentimes it's just not about Linux. And during Hacker Summer Camp is when I get to test out all the Linux malware that I've been writing for months that I don't really get to use on engagements as often. So it's really, really fun for me. Oh, one last thing. I am open for like interviews and stuff. If you're some kind of YouTuber that's even remotely tech adjacent, or if you're interested in philosophy or anything like that, ethics, we can talk about it in terms of hacking. I need to promote this book. I haven't been promoting it. In fact, that's why I'm astonished at the reception. I promoted it just before Hacker Summer Camp. We have this crazy reception, and everybody's stoked on it. And I kind of want to make sure that I am continuing to put it out there because it seems to be something that people actually resonate with and want. So if you're some kind of YouTuber who wants to interview me, I'll do an AMA. I'll do a direct interview on specific topics. We can get technical. We can get ethical, philosophical. I don't care. I'm talking to you, John Hammond and Live Overflow, which, hey, Live Overflow, thanks for saying hi to me at DEF CON. I know you're busy, but you're awesome. Any of you kind of cats, you fucking Linus Tech Tips, Alex O'Connor, for Christ's sakes. Yeah, I'll come on any of these podcasts, do any of these interviews. I don't care. Well, I do care, but my point is it doesn't matter what the medium is. That's what I don't care about. What I do want to be able to do is share this because people seem to be really resonating with this book, which is really cool. So if you're technical in any capacity and you want to learn more about red team engineering, this is the book for you. So yeah, peace. Check it out.